Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and for the last week I've been driving the 2025 Audi S5. Up front is a 3.0 liter twin-turbo V6, and down below is a 7-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be making this video here today because I've spent the last week driving the Audi S5, and my gosh, I have truly fallen in love with this automobile, and I'm excited to share with you why that is, as well as there are some pretty big pitfalls, but why those pitfalls are accepted in a car like this. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 3-liter twin-turbo V6 under the hood. Well, it's pushing out 362 horsepower. However, if I were a betting man, I would say it probably makes a little bit more. It certainly feels into the 400 range. Now, a big part of that is the 7-speed that we'll talk about here in a second, but I am never asking for more power out of this car. Now, it is a over 20 horsepower jump over the outgoing Audi S5, so that is certainly nice to see. Like I said, paired to it is that 7-speed automatic transmission. It is a dual clutch, and it is incredibly quick and such a lovely transmission, especially when you are playing with the paddles yourself. It's right there with every shift when you want it, and it is glorious. Last but not least, of course, the S5 has the Quattro system, meaning it is all-wheel drive. So how does it feel to drive the Audi S5? It's phenomenal, and that's its biggest calling card. It is so planted around corners, it has you questioning physics. I truly couldn't believe the cornering speeds I was getting out of this vehicle. It's very fast, it also has launch control, and honestly, sitting at highway speeds, it's so good. A little birdie told me that sitting at 110 feels like you're doing 65. And that's the precision and type of engineering that I would expect out of Audi and a vehicle like this. So I'm happy to see it here in the S5. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital gauge cluster. Now, there are some cool parts about this gauge cluster. It will tell you when an intersection is getting close, so you can kind of prepare and get on the brakes. Speed limits, things like that. It is pretty adaptable. It'll show you several different things, but it is a big screen. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our gauge cluster view, as well as pages and OK. And off to the right, we have our skip track, volume, and heated steering wheel, as well as we do get adaptive cruise. However, it's on an old-fashioned stalk down to the bottom left. But I got so many compliments over the week on this steering wheel. I think the steering wheel looks very fresh and modern and is just one of the coolest parts of this interior, but far from the coolest. Another really cool thing is that you have a light that runs the entire dashboard up at the top, but when you turn your turn signal on, it actually shows you on the inside that your turn signal is on. Pretty cool. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent, as well as a giant cubby down below. And moving on to the door, we have the latch to get in and out, but then we have this haptic button panel for the lock and unlock power mirrors, power seat adjustments, and the headlights. I've never seen the headlights in this position on the door, so very cool to see that. And then, of course, standard power windows. Moving into the center, we get a continuation of that giant gauge cluster screen. This does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It does have massage seat functionality in here as well. It has a 360 camera, which has been super helpful. You can change your interior and exterior lighting through here. I really like the screen. It's very responsive. However, it does have your climate controls within the screen, and I don't love this. I think that this is kind of a bad idea. And to bring a little bit of real world into this, I was trying to change my fan speed on a back road in Michigan, took my eyes off the road, looked up, and there was a raccoon in the road. Now, luckily, myself, the S5, and the raccoon are all safe and sound. However, it could have ended very badly, and that that was because I had to look at the screen in order to change the fan speed. So that was a real world example of what could happen. However, off to the right, we have another screen. This is strictly for the passenger, and they can view stuff like YouTube and music and control the radio and things like that. Really, really cool over here. And when it's off, it just has this standard Audi logo, to the point where everyone I drove around, they didn't even know it was a screen until I started hitting it for them. So this is very cool, and this is one of the smallest vehicles I've ever seen have a screen like this. I've seen it in the Grand Wagoneer, I've seen it in the Escalade IQ, even the smaller Cherokee, but never as small as this, the S5. Moving back into the center down below, we do have 2 climate vents. We have USB-C inputs as well as a 12-volt outlet. We have our drive mode select for balanced, dynamic, and comfort. Volume, skip track, start, stop, and we do have our shifter button along with our safety switch on and off and parking sensor camera. I like how small and out of the way the shifter is. I was a little hesitant about these style shifters when they came out, but I actually really liked it, and it kind of opens up the interior quite a bit, so I think overall this is a good look. Off to the right, we do have cup holders, so we'll do our signature big friggin' bottle test, and unfortunately it fails. Then we do have a center console, which does have storage within it. However, it doesn't fully conceal what's in it unless you like push it down an awkward amount. So from the side, as you'll see with the seat footage, you can actually just see into what's in your center console, which I don't love, but I guess it works. But before we get to the seats, my favorite interior feature has been the digital moonroof. So as you can see, it's sort of this opaque moonroof. When you hit it, you can digitally slide essentially a fake sunshade back and open it up. This is absolutely wonderful. The Volvo EX30 that we recently reviewed also has a giant moonroof like this, but it doesn't have a system to shade it. This has a shading system that actually works pretty well. So I was very happy to see this, and it was very cool to show people because it kind of blew their mind that it wasn't a real sunshade. Very, very neat. Moving on to the seats, they are heated, ventilated, power, memory, and massaging. Absolutely love all that, and they've been comfortable. I took this on a road trip to Michigan and back, did almost 500 miles in it, and my back never hurt. And with that massage feature, it really, really certainly helps, so I've enjoyed that. The seats are great. They hold you in place when you want a corner. They relax you on the long trips, so they are really just the best of both worlds. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, we're in the back of the Audi S5, and a couple of things to note. First of all, I do have 2 USB-Cs, 2 climate vents, as well as heated seats, and my temperature settings back here. We do get a center console, 2 cup holders in there. It's not the biggest space I've ever been in. It's not the most comfortable. My knees are touching the seat in front of me. I do get lights over my shoulder, and I get to enjoy that moonroof. Overall, it's good. This is going to work in most applications for back seats. It's not the most spacious thing in the world, but they do have bigger sedans and, of course, SUVs that are going to be able to accommodate back seat occupants a lot better than this, but it's passable. Would I want to spend a cross-country trip back here? Probably not, but it also wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, especially enjoying the raw speed of this vehicle. Let's hop into the very back because we have a very interesting trunk to talk about, and then we'll talk about the looks. So this is the sport back. So it looks like it has a regular car trunk, but it's actually a hatchback, and a previous journalist said it, they must have had a small garage or something, they set it to stop right there, so you could just hit it to keep it going all the way up. So as you could see, basically the entire rear end of the car comes up, which is really, really nice. Once we are back here, we do get a little netting off to the left. We have some, I guess, extra storage down here. No spare tire, but we do have our sound system and whatnot, but plenty of space. Sedans in this segment normally have pretty good trunk space. However, with the liftback, it is kind of the best of both worlds because it doesn't look like a hatchback. However, it offers you the most amount of angle to get something into the back. And ooh, it's a little bug running up. I hope whoever gets this car next enjoys that. You have tons and tons of space. Maybe the trunk space itself isn't much more than a standard S5. However, the angle that you could get things in is a lot better. Come up here, of course, it is power operated. We can lock it or just close it down like that. Very, very cool. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I think this is an absolute slam dunk. Now, this does have optional wheels on it, and it is finished in a Scotty blue. I think they knocked it out of the park with this. It looks aggressive enough, but it doesn't look overly aggressive. The light bars on it, the headlights, the aggressive look, the wheels are just simply the best. I have drooled walking out of my house every single day, and it's not because my girlfriend hit me on the back of the head. It was because of the Audi S5. All right, maybe a little bit of the head injury, but mostly for the S5, because this is such a good looking vehicle. I can't get enough of it. I drove it to a bachelor party in Michigan, as I mentioned, and just seeing it, like, I was so proud of it. I was a very proud dad of this S5, even though it wasn't really mine. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Audi S5 for the last week? Well, I have loved this car. Absolutely loved this car. I love everything about it. I love the way it drives. I love the way it looks. I love the tech and infotainment. The only downside is that screen and requiring climate controls to be in the screen. I don't like that. I prefer physical climate controls. And I've complained in several other vehicles that I hate that system. However, this Audi S5 is so good that it doesn't matter that it has crappy climate controls. This car, quite frankly, is a hot girl. Everyone knew one in town. You're probably thinking of her now. And because they're human, there's probably something wrong with them. Maybe the hot girl has weird kneecaps. Maybe she has an annoying family. Maybe she's dumber than a box of rocks. But that doesn't matter. You can easily overlook those things. Where it might be a deal breaker for someone else, you can look right past it. That's how I feel about the infotainment here in the Audi S5. In the Lexus RX 450, the touchscreen climate controls ruined that whole car for me. But that's because the RX didn't have the driving chops to back it up. My jaw didn't hit the floor when I came outside to look at that car. It didn't have other exceedingly redeeming qualities. This S5 is so good in every other way that I could forget about the infotainment. I didn't care. You could make my chair a giant touchscreen. I wouldn't give a rat's bottom end, because the way it drives, accelerates, handles, sits on the highway at high speed, so friendly, it's so stable, it's so certain. The digital moonroof is sweet. The sound system bangs. The massage seat, well, I don't even need to get into what that can do for you. It's a wonderfully, wonderfully complete package. So although it does have one small downside, I could not care less that it does. It has so many upsides that overshadow that it is not an issue. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Audi for letting me have this for 7 days. I mean, it has been a blissful week over at the Shooting Cars household. Huge thank you to Drive Shop for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this vehicle, and of course, the Midwestern Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.